that type of AI is available and is very useful for developing sort of the plans. So as we're organizing and we're creating the business, one of our spheres of influence is artificial intelligence and machine language.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen AI case study series. In this episode today, we have on Bob Turner, who is the COO and co-founder of the Cyber Hero vCISO network, bringing over 22 years of cybersecurity experience to the role. His expertise spans policy, risk management, security operations, vulnerability management, incident response, information assurance, and business continuity planning. Turner has a strong background in designing and leading cyber programs and has held various leadership roles in the military. Thank you for your service, Bob. And
You're
in
welcome.
the private sector. He's known for his strategic approach to cybersecurity and his commitment to improving the security posture of organizations, which is a long-winded way of saying that he has been protecting data, as you mentioned, for many years. And I'm excited to have you on the show here today, Bob. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me on. This should be fun. Let's have fun doing it.
Yes, sir. Okay, so to get things started, I'd love to get a quick Coles Notes of who you are, where you came from, and how you kind of ended up as the COO and co-founder of the Cyber Hero.
So let's start with the beginning. I've been interested in technology since I was a teenager. My dad introduced me to radios at the time. Single sideband radios, CB radios, et cetera. And I was always interested in finding out who was on the other end. So asking questions over the air and all of that was, how do you communicate? You get information, right? And so that drove me into the Navy. That drove me into the Navy as a radioman, and that was back in the days when, as I mentioned before, the data server was a 4-drawer safe, and everything was in the folders and arranged appropriately, and it was really all about understanding what the data was and protecting the data. And as my career evolved, we got into networking, not only by the radio networks that we have, but also in the, networking on board the submarine, on board the ships, in the shore facilities that I had the privilege of serving with. And then along came this term called cyber. Noun, adjective, verb, however you want to use that, but the idea was that data still had to be protected no matter where it was at. And so I evolved into roles where command center networks were part of my responsibility. And then after I retired from the Navy, I had the opportunity to go back to the Navy as a contractor, as a consultant, and help them understand how to make sure that those networks were secure and how to be able to certify that they were secured networks. That all evolved into, kind of my cyber career. And the highlight of that has been all the work that I've gotten to do to understand leadership and understand the management and impact of securing data on a business. And as the CISO at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is a very large business, think about it, $4 billion a year revenue, 34 major schools, divisions, colleges, and so I called those large businesses. And then there was all the research projects for the small businesses. So it's all about how do you secure the data and get the impact that keeps those businesses alive, right? A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to go work for Fortinet, and I expanded my education view and my security view to include K-12, public sector, and really just understanding the tie-in between the technology and how marketing and sales worked. And then this past fall, we got the wild idea of let's start a network. Let's create a virtual CISO service that we can support the small to mid-sized business community who really need somebody who has that CISO experience, somebody who's that executive cyber advisor, somebody who can speak the language of the boardroom and the C-suite. And here we are. So we're starting, starting to pick up some steam, and the idea is to be able to bring that type of talent either on a fractional basis or maybe even just a transactional basis to the small to mid-sized business community.
So as the COO, then, what do you find your day-to-day stuff looking like? What do you take care of?
Well, most of it is building process, and creating the organization and creating the sort of the service structure of how we're going to go about supporting that particular community. And then it's a lot of keeping up with the things that are going on in cyber today, and artificial intelligence is one of the probably the major players right now. And I think it's going to be for the future, and I look forward to it. AI gives us the opportunity to explore things that we just don't have the time or just don't have the capacity to deal with on a regular basis. And I'm a proponent of let's use AI for the best use that we can now, because we don't know where it's going to go. But eventually, you got to think business processes are already being folded into the artificial intelligence world. We've had machine learning for years. We actually have had AI for a number of years, but it is really picking up steam, and it's really starting to have impact on the business. And that's the thing that I like right now, because we can use AI to do all kinds of great things in the world of cybersecurity.
So what are some of those ways? How do you find yourself deploying AI technologies in the work you're doing currently?
Well, so we actually had a member of our network wrote a GPT for security. So I was able to go to that GPT and say, develop a contract for providing cybersecurity services, and then basically enumerating what the services should be. And poof, there it was. And it was security focused. It wasn't an adaptation of a lot of other business disciplines, and they just wrote security a couple of times. This was actually focused on the things that are important in the cybersecurity world. It's also been helpful in creating some of the artifacts that we need. So risk management, risk treatment, risk assessments. Those are all things where at some point you have to have a protocol written out, right?
Right.
And that type of AI is available and is very useful for developing sort of the plans. So as we're organizing and we're creating the business, one of our spheres of influence is artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm sorry.
Right.
And so now we're all devouring everything we can to get a hold of, to understand AI and what its current state is, what the potential near-term future state is, but also what the potential is for long-term enablement and advancement of our business needs.
So what are you looking forward to in all of this? I'm catching that there's a lot of generative stuff, right?
Yeah.
As far as, and I'm assuming this is all internal. Do you have any client-facing stuff that you use to interact with the people that you serve?
So we're learning about the tools that are out there and available. That's part of our sort of, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but on a regular basis, I'm exploring to find out what is out there and adapting that to what I know from my human side.
Yeah.
as things that work in the cybersecurity profession, be it risk management and compliance, or even security operations, or even just simply understanding how coding is done. There's AI out there that can write lines of code for you if you want.
Yeah.
I'm not a coder, don't play one on television, but I like the ability to understand how somebody would go about doing that, or how machines can go about doing that for us.
Yeah, there's this intersection between the human creativity and the mundane, repetitive tasks of creating something. And then
Right.
beyond that, once you have, a framework or a foundation, that creativity can kick back in and allow you now to customize and create additional functionalities. And so there's the possibilities are endless, Bob. But the thing that scares me the most is You don't know what you don't know.
But that's always been the excitement about being in cybersecurity. You don't know what you don't know is a good way to start out. But as you go on, you learn and you pick up knowledge, you pick up understanding of how things work. And then you're able to take those lessons of current knowledge and apply them to future issues, future situations you find yourself in, or even to a large extent, how to run your business based on what all of the learning has been going on. So one of us in our network is not as smart as our entire network. We call that the network effect. There's no matter what the issue is in providing virtual CISO services, there is somebody in our network that has done that before. And helping each other out through the network is the same as AI going out and mining the internet for ideas and thoughts on how to do things and putting it into a consolidated package.
So what's your take on the dangers that we're facing here? Because I know there's a lot of negative publicity that's come out of the recent buzz of AI, with those dangerous phone calls where the voices are mimicking your loved ones, or even the deepfake video AI has really started to make leaps and bounds. And I know that right now this is the worst it's ever going to be, but it also means that the bad guys are getting better at doing what they're doing too, doesn't it?
Well, and it's also happening at light speed. I don't think I am keeping up as well as I could be keeping up had I, an AI powered engine in my brain somewhere. But let's take that to the next logical step. Again, the one of us is not as smart as all of us thing, but as we learn from AI and as we learn the capabilities, we in the cybersecurity business also have to learn to apply common sense cybersecurity and basically information security context to what we're knowing. So who created the AI engine? What was it created to do? What is it currently being used to do? Those are things that you have to think about. Just like when the first encryption tools first came out many, many centuries ago, right? They had to learn how that tool would be beneficial. They had to learn how that tool could be broken.
Right.
We had to learn how technology could be broken before we could fix it and make it better, right? And that's evolution. That's what happens. And in thinking carefully about AI, those deepfake videos are a little bit disconcerting. But if we're applying sound security principles, we're saying, did I just see what I thought I saw? And does it make sense? So anytime somebody is trying to hack into a business, they have to put on a facade. They have to masquerade in order to be able to break into the business, right?
Right.
As AI is coming out and doing things like those fake videos or fake phone calls from relatives, right? And I'm telling a secret here, if any voice comes on the phone and it sounds like one of my grandkids trying to get bail money, they all know that Papa don't pay bail.
These are natural consequences.
So that's a safeguard that we put in place, right? So it has to be, you have to go where the technology takes you, but you also have to put controls in place to make sure that technology doesn't be used for the old ugly purposes that some people are using AI for now. I watch the news on a regular basis, and there's just sometimes I can't believe what the news article is telling me. So I go and research. I find out if that is even possible to happen the way that they said it did in the news article. And I'm probably one of the more vicious news watchers because I say it just doesn't work that way, especially when they're doing stories about things that I know really well.
Right. You have a history and a background in this kind of stuff, so you have a filter where others may not. And I love the idea that you touched on about how the bad guys are going to do what bad guys do. And bad guys are always doing what bad guys do. But the good guys also are doing what good guys are doing. And so there's obviously going to be a balancing act. And so we kind of have to take on the responsibility of the good guys and do good guy work with this technology to make sure that
Absolutely.
the impact that we're creating is
Mhm.
beneficial. The idea of a win-win-win, right? It's not just for me, it's not
Right.
just for you, it's actually for the whole community. I'm curious in terms of the way that you are connecting with and communicating with and nurturing your community. Is there a place for some of these automations and AI and tools and things like that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think you could take a process that has been around for a while and you can use AI to improve that process, potentially streamlining the process,
The,
um, especially things that require gathering data from multiple sources. Easy to let the internet help you do that. Easy to let the GPTs or other generative AI type tools help you out. Um, and I think it's important that we learn how to use those tools effectively so that we're not chasing bad information with bad information. But we also need to kind of let those tools evolve and develop over time. And that time doesn't have to be decades like it was before. It took us a long time to really get the internet perfected and get it working right. Now that we have it in that stage, let's get it ready for that next evolution, which is all of these neural networks and all this intelligence that comes out, and all of it that is really going to be game changing in a lot of areas.
when you take the limitations that we're facing right now in terms of AI, which is basically just predictive, and that
Right.
is all based on some nature of computation that happens on some form of hardware. There's a limitation to how much and how far we can go with that. But I can't even begin to imagine with some of the new computing technologies like quantum
Mhm.
computing and things like that, how far this could actually go if we let it. And I don't know, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I'm kind of like deeply ingrained in this. And I'm following this girl on TikTok who is a biologist in the computing world, and she is documenting this team that is developing organoids, and they are made from human tissue and they function like humans. And when connected to computers, they interact with those computers at I can't remember if it was like a 5-year old's level of intellect to be able to experiment, try, learn, adapt, and grow. And so if we take
Mhm.
some of those things and we connect them with the predictive nature of large language models and some of these other technologies,
Mhm.
what do you see being some of the challenges that we're going to be facing as this gets better and faster?
Um, I think we have to learn to press the I believe button a little bit.
Yeah.
In other words, go with the evolution of it, and let's simplify things that are complex now, and let's believe them by testing, obviously over time. But at some point, we just have to say that, you know what, we don't know everything, and neither does AI. So let's
There. Okay.
learn
That's
together. Let
right.
us learn together, and let us try not to think on a us versus them level. Okay, there's enough room in cyber for that already. Let's try to get a hold of the people that really are understanding this a lot better than I do, and let's learn from them. I've always enjoyed learning new things. So a lot of the universities out there, a lot of the colleges out there, a lot of businesses out there are holding seminars about AI. They're doing that 10 easy rules to AI kind of thing, and we need to do that. We need to learn about AI, and then let's do what the scientists have always done. Let's dream, let's hypothesize, let's test and evaluate, and let's advance and grow together. I this that's the way we win with AI.
I get it. I get this really strong sense that you're the kind of person who likes to collaborate for
Yeah.
for the growth of these things, as opposed to that kind of person that like ring the alarms, though the sky is falling, we're coming to
And
Skynet and Terminator, and the machines are going to take over. It doesn't seem
which were
like
all
you.
good movies, and I'm a big Schwarzenegger fan and all of that. But the reality is, um, we're humans, and we will think on a human level a lot. But AI gives us an opportunity to experience more faster and probably more accurately than in the 40s, 50s, and 60s as technology was evolving.
That being the case, what do you see coming down the pipeline? What is the hope for the future? What do you want AI to become in terms of like specifically in your industry and the work that you're doing?
And, um, I would like to see AI work on encryption technologies. I would also like to see it work on it in a way that matches the complexity of the technology with the ability of the humans to embrace it. How long did it take us to get multi-factor authentication as sort of that ubiquitous tool in our toolbox? It took a while because we really had to understand it. AI can help us understand faster, and we can press the I believe button a whole lot easier now with artificial intelligence and machine learning driving things along. And I think that that's important, that we embrace that, and we go in the fast lane when we need to. But let's also be prepared to, have those safeguards in effect. The advice to my grandkids about bail. And we have to be creative, and we have to think about how to validate what we know to be true and how to validate what we know to be false.
Right. As we're kind of coming to a close here for this episode, I'd love to get your perspective on any upcoming trends that you're kind of excited for. Is there anything that you've noticed that kind of sparks your interest?
So I have been a big compliance nerd for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see AI try to remove the mystery behind compliance. The test and evaluate has always been part of the compliance world. How do we test a process, test a code, test the output of certain things, and how can we get to that faster? How can we validate faster? How can we use the science to do good things? And at the same time, from an operational perspective, how can we figure out if an exploit is AI generated or human generated? How can we then train ourselves to understand how, as humans, we can recognize and counter the effects of AI generated cyber attacks? I would love to see that happen. I would love to be in the middle of it as it's happening, so I can really get a good appreciation of it round and round.
Yep, that makes sense. I always like to leave on a super high note here, and one question I'd like to ask my guests is if there was a piece of advice that you could offer someone in a similar position as you who is exploring some of these technologies, what would that piece of advice be, Bob?
Do it. Seriously. Just wade in there. I mean, chances are you're not going to drown in the shallow end of the pool, right? But get in the pool, learn about these things, and experiment with them.
Yeah, and to your point at the top of the show, it's it might be scary, it might be off-putting, it might be that there's a reputation or something out there, but at the end of the day, if you're not doing something and having fun with it and experimenting and exploring just for the pure, simple joy of it all, then there's some serious evaluation I think that you should do in your life so that you can make room for some of these things. So I love that just do it is such an iconic statement, but it is one of those things that you might be scared, but do it scared. You might be nervous, but do it nervous.
Everything, if I look at my academic career, my business career, just life in general, there's always been that point where you just had to step off and jump in.
Mm.
You know, just getting over that fear, I think, is what AI is all about. Is it should be embraced as an opportunity. It should not be something that we fear, other than if we trust it too much before we know about it.
Yeah, that's wise advice, Bob. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain further or perhaps work with you, is there a way that one could go about doing that?
Absolutely. They can visit our website, which is chnvcso.com, or they can email me at bob@chnvcso.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure to
Check
link.
with me on LinkedIn. That's another way.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we'll
That's
make
what we
sure to
mean.
link to all that in the show notes. Otherwise, Bob, you've been very generous with your time, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for you spending it with me and sharing some of your wisdom and insights. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you
And
for the opportunity and excellent questions. It's a give and take, and I'm comfortable with the way this has evolved because you do ask really great questions and you follow up. So that's great.
I'm grateful for that, Bob. Thank you so much. If anybody watching or listening wants to get in touch with me and my team, it's nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode, and I will see you in the next one.